There we go. I forgot to hit the record button. So we're starting right now. This is the official start. But I felt like because of the busyness of life, we it'd be better served our families to have a recording or to have a Zoom meeting, online meeting than our typical in-person meeting. And so that way, obviously, as many people that can join live, and people can go back and reference and watch it as well if needed. So it is being recorded. Just want to let you know that. But let's see here. Still admitting people as they come in here. So I wanted to mention, I'm going to try to share my screen here in a minute just to kind of have an agenda and you guys kind of know where we're heading in this. And so I'll do that in just a second. But I want to kind of just mention as we kind of get started, the tough calls always on the cold days for our school. Typically, historically, we don't call school very often for cold, just cold on itself. Yesterday, I kind of felt that there was multiple factors that went into the call for yesterday. The lateness of the snow, the coldness, the shuttle's heater was not, we didn't feel great about, and then there was a couple other just personnel things that kind of made that call. But today I kind of felt like it didn't really fit within our cold weather policy. But I will say I'm very grateful that most families made it in. Tomorrow it is very highly debatable and I could just tell the parents first, I guess, probably not going to have school tomorrow, just because of Mrs. Lee thumbs up. I do see Mrs. Lee's thumbs up. Just because they're issuing a new extreme cold warning tonight from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. tomorrow, and about 10 degrees colder real temperature from this morning than it will be tomorrow. Plus, the wind chill is projected to maybe even set a record low. And so I kind of feel like even though we don't cancel a lot for cold, and it's still going to be cold on Friday, just to let you know. But I kind of felt like extreme cold weather warning, and they're pretty serious about it. I do want to be within reason as well. It's like what's reasonable and what's safe in that. And so not that our students are outside a whole lot. Obviously, our building's been super warm all day, and I'm very grateful for that. And there were zero complaints. Most of the kids were walking around in t-shirts today, so it's not that anyone was cold inside the building, but that's kind of what goes into our mindset as far as making these calls sometimes. And so I'll probably put the message out after this meeting, but it's very doubtful we'll have school tomorrow just because of that extreme cold weather warning tomorrow. But let's get into the meeting, the parent meeting, and we have a lot to go over. And so I hope this is informative. I hope it's helpful. But I do want it to be obviously, efficient. And so I'm going to try to move quickly as possible with giving you as much information as possible. But this is really just an opportunity for you to hear my voice, and then this might prompt more questions from you. And if I think it applies to everybody, we can address them here. If not, we can obviously talk personally. So let's go ahead and pray. I know we're on Zoom, but I still think God can bless even through Zoom. So let's pray. God, thank you for your goodness to us. Thank you for these parents and these families that are represented. Thank you for the safety through this winter of not just the cold, but also the snow. Thank you for heat and a building that is warm. And we think of just the many who are less fortunate that are living in extreme cold temperatures. And we just are very grateful for what you've given to us. And maybe we see that in a positive light. And bless this time together now as we talk through some things. And I pray that you would just give us wisdom for the future. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Okay, so I'm going to check the room real quick to make sure I don't need to admit anybody else. Very good. Okay, so a couple things. I'm going to start with the current year recap, and I won't take a ton of time on this, but let's see here. Hopefully you can see that slideshow there. Can someone give me Mrs. Lee? I see you in the corner. Very good. Thank you. Um, so here's the quick agenda that I'm going to give you here. If I can get it to here. Very good. We're going to go through the current year recap. We're going to talk about re-enrollment. We're going to talk about some summer plans. And then we're going to talk through some changes for next year. That's the flow. We have 4 topics, and we're going to kind of get through those one at a time. So the first thing, just a current year recap. You know, I really believe this year will be earmarked a lot about the 25th anniversary celebration. The gala event that we were able to have was a huge thing. And honestly, for all those that put effort into that, I just am so grateful for that. And I really believe that was instrumental this year as we kind of just capped off, celebrated 25 years is a big monument, big milestone, and I'm just very grateful for that. So that was a huge deal. With that, the Legacy Fund startup, out of that gala, we started a Legacy Fund. And the last report I saw, which I think there was some more funds coming in, was just under $5,000 had been raised specifically designated towards our Legacy Fund. The Legacy Fund is, if you were at the gala, you'll understand what that was, but it was really different parts of the future of family scholarships, teacher development, and of course then longevity as far as savings for future projects. And so we're grateful for that. We had a goal of about $25,000, and that wasn't like a this year goal. That's like, hey, to get our Legacy Fund really off and running like we want it to be. Oh, here we go. Let's admit these people who are in the waiting room. There we go. Sorry, just gave me sorry for those that are in the waiting room. But so we are grateful for that. And that is definitely a check mark, I would say, of things that we needed to get going. And I'm very grateful for that. I think there are more funds on their way, but that's a huge deal as far as just solidifying the foundation of our school. And then there was alumni reunion with that. And, you know, I'm really grateful for the alumni that came back for that. And that was just a wonderful time. The gala is something that people have asked about doing again, regardless of an alumni reunion, because the alumni reunions typically run about every 5 years. But there's been talk about doing the gala more than that. We've had many salvation decisions, which I think is a huge aspect of when we recap a year thus far. Multiple students receiving Christ as their Savior this year, which is awesome. There's definitely rejoicing in heaven over that. We want to rejoice here as well. New families. I love the new families that God has brought to our school this year. And even through the middle of the school year, we picked up a few families and we're able to serve them and get them involved, which I'm very grateful for. And then student growth. And I'm not talking about just numeric, because the reality is we haven't grown a ton numerically this year. But especially in the last few weeks, months, I believe God has been working through difficult sometimes situations to really help students grow. And I met with a student today that has had a harder year, but honestly, we see light at the end of the tunnel. And I feel like students are turning a corner, which I'm very grateful for, even though there's been some difficult conversations, there's been some poor decisions made, but I am very grateful for the spiritual growth of some of our students. And I'm very thankful for that. But I do want to just say thank you this year to all the parents, obviously, that are watching and those that will watch this later. We've had a great year, and it's obviously not without challenges. Every year is going to be challenges. Where there's people, there's problems. But man, I look at the growth that our school's taken, the students that have grown, the teachers. We have tremendous staff, and I'm just very grateful. I just want to say thank you for being a part of it, because it really does take a community, and you are part of that community. I'm just really thankful. So let's go into some re-enrollment things. First off, re-enrollment starts March 1st. So that portal will open, and we'll have a news article out that will start March 1st, where you'll use your existing Sycamore login, and you could do the re-enrollment process. Opens March 1st. We do have the open house, which is March 3rd. And that is 5 to 7 p.m. here at the school, and we are very excited about it seems to be a fruitful event each year. You are welcome just to come to that. We have some families that will be here. I think the PTF and some student council and things like that will be here helping give tours. But one thing during an open house I've learned is that from the beginning, I've thought, if we're going to have an open house, I want a building that has life in it. And so the building itself, when you just give a tour of it, it's like, oh yeah, here's where a bunch of students sit, you know? But I found that what speaks the most about what our school is when there's examples, there's life in the building, there's connections, there's relationships, there's just energy. And when a family comes in and sees that, they see a community that is behind this school, not just a building. And so you're welcome to stop by in that. You're welcome to bring somebody. We've had multiple families in the years past. Bring somebody to the open house, 5 to 7 p.m. on a Monday night. Early registration, that is $150 for family registration, and that is non-refundable, but you can save $150 by registering before March 15th. And so it's a short early registration period, because then the standard registration will be to $300, and then I believe it's $400 after June 1st. So it's kind of stayed at $300 for a while. But I really encourage you. It helps us a lot, and we'll talk about this in just a second, but it helps us a lot to know what people are thinking for the next year. And for planning purposes, we have a lot of decisions to make between now and next school year. And so we would really appreciate if you are expecting to come back, we try to incentivize you to register early. And then the tuition. The tuition right now is set to increase by 2%, roughly 2%. Some are a little bit less than 2%. The multiple children rates did not increase by a full 2%. So it's a really small increase. If you think about that, does not really cover a lot of the inflation costs, and we usually give staff more raises than a 2% raise. And so what that tells me is we really, and I want you guys to understand this, we really can't do everything we want to do and we believe God has for us to do next year by just keeping the same enrollment and increasing it by 2%. So this is where the open house and the registry and the re-enrollment process really becomes important for us as a community to say, hey, if you believe in what we're doing here and you have a family that you think might be interested, our best option, we're going to, we spent some advertising dollars, we're trying to get the word out, but we found that word of mouth is the best way to get the right type of families into our community. And so we are offering with that a $250 referral credit. If you refer a family that starts to come to school here, then you get a $250 credit on your account. And our target enrollment to do what we would like to do, what we believe God has for us to do, is 145, which is about a plus 20 as far as enrollment. And so we feel like we can really do that's where we're a little more comfortable in the budget next year. So I didn't want to just put that all on the families to raise the tuition to set the standard for next year. I'd rather keep the tuition a little lower and challenge, hey, let's grow, which I know there's some families that already are excited to get started at school here, but that's what the tuition will be set at for next year. I do think it's interesting with just the current presidency, there's a lot of talk about school choice, and we are trying to position ourselves in a place to where we are ready for that if and when that time comes available. I have mixed feelings on federal school choice programs, because even though they might benefit the family in the short term, they can also be taken away quickly too. And so the state house is definitely the place where I'd love to see those go through. But we do want to, I believe there is school choices on the rise nationwide. I will say that. And so I believe there might be some even incentives financially to come through here. Let's go to summer plans here. Let's talk about some summer plans. There's really, oh man, my slide got all messed up there on that one. there's really just two projects as far as building projects that we are planning on this summer. One is the stage improvement, which should have been one word, or shouldn't have. I ran out of spacing there. My bad. Formatting must have messed up. But the stage improvement is actually starting now a little bit, and I want to talk. The reason is because as we improve our stage, we want to start housing more events back here at the school. We believe that's in the best interest of not only the school but also the church. And think about the school play this year. They are trying to have the school play hosted at the school this year for efficiency's sake, for props and all that setup that has to happen in such a short amount of time at the church. So we're grateful for the use of the church, and obviously our two ministries are so closely knit that we are supportive of one another, obviously. But I think it's better that we start planning towards having some events back at the school. So that leads us to the stage improvement, and this year it's already happening of trying to get some stage cleared out, some improvements, some lighting improvements, and things already started going away. The biggest thing that's the need right now for this year is actually storage. There's a storage issue that we are starting to run into at the school. And we have things that we need to keep, but we don't have a place for them. We don't want to throw them away. And so in that, we have an idea of putting a storing shipping container in the space behind the stage. There's a empty space really that's not part of the Head Start parking lot, and really not next, between the Head Start parking lot and our building, just open. So if we could get a shipping container or two to put back there, we could then take a lot of the stuff that we need that doesn't need to be temperature controlled, future desks and chairs and stage stuff, like backdrops and things. And we could put that in a storage container. That would be huge for allowing us to have more access and more usability in our current stage. But things like that we're trying to do like right now. Like we're trying to find a container. I actually found one, but we're trying to pay for a container, I should say. Trying to pay for a container to take some of that stuff off the stage so that we can give just more space to have some of these events back at the school. But then this summer, as we get into it, will be more improvements like the painting, the lighting, the curtains, the refinishing of the floor. If you've been around our school, you know how hideous that carpet is. And I am so looking forward to the day when that carpet gets torn up and we have a nice floor that's going to be so much better. So the stage improvement is one thing. And then the new classroom. So this is going to be a new classroom that will be downstairs in the current shop area. We are losing our shop area, thus the need for more storage. And it will be accessed. There will be an exterior door that you see the small door next to the overhead door down by the shop. That will still be there, and that will actually go into a hallway. And then the whole shop area will be turned into a classroom. We don't know if we'll take out the overhead door completely or just seal it in, insulate it, waterproof it, and then just build inside of it. We're kind of torn on that just because if it allows us to have a shop in the future if we get more space. But that is a necessary thing that will happen as early, starting in mid-April, late April, we'll start working on that project as well. So our fundraising this year will be going towards these two projects. The color run that we typically do will be going towards these two building projects. And be happy to talk more about that as well. What is the parking plan? Someone asked, what is the parking plan as we move things back to the school? It's a great question. So there's conversation. I don't want to talk too much about this, but there is conversation of adding a parking lot in the front of our building area, like where our current sign is. Next time you go up to the school, you can look at where our current sign is, making that into another parking lot and adding, I can't remember how many stalls they quoted us at, but we're still working on the logistics of getting a driveway off of Main Street, kind of like what Head Start has, and whether or not we can just double that driveway so there's more of an in and out process. We're going to talk to them possibly about that. But then making a parking lot up top, and that way it's separate from even the stuff in the back, and we'll go from there. Parking is definitely a concern as we move forward in this building, but that was one of the, I guess, the cons in the pros and cons list that we felt that there were more pros than cons, and so we are working towards that for sure to improve that. That new parking could happen as early as this summer. That's more of a, we're discussing with the church on that project. As far as that wouldn't be necessarily school budget, that would be a church budget project. So good question. Okay, let's go on to the next year's changes. So we've talked about current year, talked about the re-enrollment, and we've talked about some summer plans. We're going to go into some next year's changes, and I don't want to go super fast through this, and so feel free if you have questions, comments, feel free to put them in the chat. The first thing you see on the next year's changes list is the change in departments. What does that mean? Well, it comes down to, let me go back to here, because I'm going to kind of share back and forth between this this meeting here, so you can see me. It kind of goes a little bit into the conversations we'll have in a second here about the high school and otherwise. But the thing it starts with is elementary will be just considered K through 5th starting next year. And I feel like our elementary is doing a great job right now. I feel like they are hitting a good stride. Mrs. Lee's done a great job. We have incredible teachers in there, and I feel like we found some things that really have worked, and we'll continue to improve those things and make tweaks. But the kindergarten through 5th program will stay just elementary. You'll still start an instrument in 5th grade. You'll still start an instrument in 5th grade, but they will have like their own band intro class because starting an instrument is differently than being even a beginner instrument player. And so they'll have just their own kind of schedule. They'll have a primary teacher, will be like a full-time teacher in 5th grade, like 4th grade was, and so on. So we'll start making some of those, like getting them prepared for middle school, but they'll be running underneath the guidance of the elementary and kindergarten through 5th. That new classroom in the shop area will be the 5th grade classroom next year. And so all of the kindergarten through 5th grade classes will all be in that lower level as well. So they'll kind of be housed right there. And then with that, you know, the preschool future, I know it's on the slide here coming up, but the preschool future is kind of unsure right now. There's multiple reasons for that, but I really think that if you have anybody that you know is interested in utilizing the preschool for next year, we need to know that like right away. The space becomes an issue a little bit. The personnel becomes a little bit of an issue with the licensing with the state. And so we've kind of dabbled with these conversations the last couple of years, but there might be a temporary hold on the preschool to then restart it when we have the right things in place to really go. But right now it's just kindergarten through 5th here at the school next year downstairs. And that leads to middle school then will be considered 6th through 8th grade, where middle school would start in 6th grade and they would wear the uniforms like they would in the secondary. 6th grade would kind of be absorbed a little bit more into the middle school schedule. It'd be a traditional 5-day-a-week schedule, very similar to what the 7th and 8th graders are doing right now. And so there's not a ton of change in there. The only future change that we're looking at making some of these changes slowly is that just as Mrs. Lee is the elementary supervisor, we would be looking for in the future, in the next year or two, to have a middle school supervisor where there is somebody who is just overseeing the 6th through 8th grade on the daily. Like Mrs. Lee, she still teaches, she still, oversees, but a middle school supervisor might still teach, but they would just kind of be overseeing that middle school. And then the high school would obviously consider to be just 9th through 12th in that. I'll get back to the high school in a second, but some things with the secondary as far as some changes is we are going to test run this within this 6th through 12th grade, what we're going to consider to be secondary next year. And it'd be a new point system. So My heart's been on this for a little bit. I'm just trying to figure out the when and the why to do this, but I'm very grateful for the system that we have. But I'm always looking to see what can we do to improve things and make it more effective. Um, so the current system, as we know it, has been a little bit more focused on if you do something wrong, you get a point, and that's okay. If you forget something or something character based, you get a fine. Uh, we're going to kind of, I know I hate doing this budget wise, but do away with like student fines in secondary. And we are going to go to more of just a positive and negative point system. And where people might consider it to be demerits, merits, like some schools have done, we're using points partly because that's what Sycamore calls them. And we just want to be, it's already what we're used to a little bit. But there will be positive points that students can earn, and then they can obviously earn negative points. And it's almost like a checks and balances in that way. It's a little bit of you can turn positive point, you can cash in your points. I've been doing this in my own classroom for a couple of years now, just test running it, and it's really been an effective thing to help students understand that you do get rewarded. Now we know you don't always get rewarded for everything good you do, and that's okay. But it's not going to be just behavior, some academic things, some spiritual things, we used to have what's called an incentive box where teachers could nominate students for just picking up trash, doing things that they just saw them do well. We want to maybe incorporate a little bit more positive reinforcement versus just negative reinforcement. And so they'll be able to use their points for good things like casual days and what am I talking about? Privileges, warnings, class warnings, homework warnings, those type of things. If you forget your homework, you can cash in some points if you have the accounts build up. So it's just kind of teaching them a little bit more on that, and that'll be fine. But that'll be through 6th through 12th grade for next year. So no more student fines. There still will be family fines, what we consider to be family fines in the elementary. And we will kind of continue that trend, what we've done, but no more student fines. And then the high school schedule, of the block scheduling is the biggest change to the high school secondary plan. And so this is again a couple year plan to maybe we think about 25 years. That was awesome. We got to celebrate our past and look towards our future and things. But we're just starting a path forward on what can we do to help improve the program of our school to make it the most effective and efficient program for the families, because that's really what we're here for. And this has just been an idea that's been rattling around in my head, and I feel like it's a year ahead of schedule, but it's time to do it. And that is moving the high school to a block period schedule. And so their schedule would be a lot different than the middle school and the elementary that are running on more of the traditional 5 days. This is just in its infant stage. We're having a meeting next Monday with the staff to talk more about this. But the way I foresee it is that your classes, instead of running 5 days a week, it's like a college setup more or less, that you are running, you're only having history or science, let's say. Let's take science because that's a good example. Science, you're only having that 2 days a week for the block period of an hour and 40 minutes. And that is, you're taking science all the way there. And I've talked to multiple educators about this, and honestly, most administrators that I talk about it said, I wish I could do that in our school. I wish that's exactly what I want to do, but either they don't have the freedom to do it, or they have some restrictions, or they don't know exactly how it would work or whatever. But everyone that I've talked through either would like to do it, or I've talked to some that have done it and have seen really good results with it. Take science, like I mentioned, it allows for more collaboration within the classroom. It allows for more experimentation for labs and things like that. It allows for more customization of a high school schedule where it's not as rote as what it is right now. And so it definitely is going to be an adjustment for teachers and for students. to walk into a classroom and be ready to be there for an hour and a half or hour and 40 minutes, that's going to be different for sure. But I believe as we get into this more, students will feel like they are more prepared for quizzes because they're concentrating on that subject matter. They're not just rushing from hour to hour. Half the academic hour is all right, catching up from what we talked about yesterday, and then teaching again, the new concept, then reviewing, and then, oh, we got to remember this quiz tomorrow. And just, it's a lot of this, stuff that, because we stretch it out, being more condensed might help our students to actually focus on the material. And with that becomes less, what am I trying to say? Less classes, less periods, because you're doing block periods, you actually have less periods, which is another thing that's been on my heart. Our students are busy. Life is full for high schoolers. And I think that's a good thing, but I also want to be careful we are not stretching so thin that we're not desiring excellence in these different things that matter most. And so how that might work is the most likely schedule would be that classes would run either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, Thursday, 2 days a week for whatever class you're taking that day or that particular day. You'd have most likely 4 academic or class periods in a day. So instead of 6 really, or 7 actually, 7 hours, you're shrinking that down to 4. And then you say, all right, so Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, Thursday, what's happening Friday? Friday would most likely for high schoolers, it would still be a school day, but it would turn into a little bit more elective days, to where some of those electives that we weren't able to do Monday through Thursday, they're doing on Fridays. So take like a drama. They might do a block period on Fridays with the drama club because they can actually get into the set, they can get into actually working. They're not, again, rushing for 50 minutes and then running out. Even just take like a woodworking class. We would love students to take woodworking classes, but those classes need more time to actually get into it and to really understand what they're doing versus shorter times for more days. Take like a computer class, computer hardware. I love Mr. Fincher. He's teaching a computer hardware class this year, and he's really getting these students invested in this computer. And then I come down there because I have the class next, and they're trying to scramble to wrap things up quickly because that's something you really need to sink your teeth in. And so some of the electives on Friday would be more, or some of the class schedules on Friday would be more elective based, which helps with those maybe seniors who don't need electives, where they can have then a free day to either work. We also are looking into like internship programs on those Fridays. So if a student has a desire to go and learn underneath somebody that is doing a particular field, then they have a day set for that, that they could go and do. So there's a lot of things that are going to go into this. And the main reason for the high school change is just for more collaboration between staff, students in the class periods, retaining the best staff. Honestly, this is another big factor of it, is that there are many high school teachers that would be willing to come in and teach 2 days a week, or whatever, 3 days a week, but they can't commit to 5 days a week. And this gives us more options as a school to say, you know what, for high school, we don't need, so many full-time teachers. We need so many experienced, certified, specific, like that's their area of expertise, subject matter, but they only need to come in for 2 days a week. Take Mrs. Wicks, for instance. My mom, she's an English teacher. Her schedule doesn't allow her to commit to once a day, 1 day a week, but she could teach an English class for 2 days a week, and that's an example of probably 3 or 4 others that I could think of that I could bring in that could really be a help to our students, but they don't have to be in the building, the whole week. And that doesn't have to be a full-time salary either for us as a school. And so it's really a win-win to keep the best staff in the right positions, for the students. More opportunities but less hours in classes, more customization, because it allows for, if you need this class at this time, well, maybe we can shift your blocks around and do different things. There will be a meeting at the end of the school year with incoming high school students. So anybody who's going into 9th through 12th grade next year, we're going to do a meeting with the students and parents at the end of the school year to kind of go over what your schedule would look like, just so they're prepared for that and know what's going on for that. But that's kind of the high school block schedule plan. And then I think, let me see if I can share this here. And then I just wanted to talk about our theme. This is not our logo necessarily for our theme next year, but our theme is coming from John 10:10. The thief cometh not, but for to steal, to kill, and destroy. I am come that they might have life and they might have it more abundantly. What my goal is for next year is to not just survive, but to thrive. And that will be our theme next year, is thrive. I think about 25 years our school's been in existence, and the many blessings it's seen in the past 25 years, the many victories it's had. But as we look towards the future, I don't want to be stuck in the past. And I think education is evolving, and we do need to continue to be on the right side of that. We don't want to forsake the traditional values. We don't want to forsake the simplistic truths that need to be taught to every generation. But we do want to be more efficient. We want to look at improvements. And one other thing that I'm passionate about is, in a small school setting, it's easy for students to what I call phase out, where it's, you're in the same building from kindergarten through 12th grade. That's a challenge sometimes to feel like what's bigger out there? What's God calling me to do? And you feel kind of stuck sometimes. And I feel like changing the schedule every couple of years for these students that are set this way for kindergarten through 5th grade. We're certainly preparing them at 5th grade for 6th grade jump. But that year of transitions of 6th through 8th grade is run differently with a set of personnel that loves and cares for those awkward junior hires. And then the high school is meant for more customization, for more independent learning, for more collaborative learning, and junior high is too. But it's built for that a little bit more flexibility. The future of even our high school, I want it to be a place where if we did outgrow this building and we did not have any access to any buildings near us, if the high school had to move to the church, which is a really real possibility in the next year or two, well, then the schedule allows it to be very customizable for even the teachers that cross over between middle school and high school and all those things. And so I'm very excited about our theme next year. We were not just made to survive, we were made to thrive and to give that life more abundantly through Jesus Christ. And so that's our theme for next year, and we will be working towards that as we go. That logo is not our logo, it's just one that I thought was cute. So I will say there are many things that we obviously are still in. We're still very much in right now for this school year. We're in the thick of it right now. Even though we're looking towards next year, don't get me wrong that we are very focused on still finishing this year strong. And there's a lot of events that go with that. A lot of, fine arts and academic things. And there's some tweaks we still have to make within our school for this year. And just all sorts of adjustments that we are constantly making. But I wanted you as parents to know, as we're making these plans and as re-enrollment is starting, where we're at kind of as a school, where we're kind of going, and what that's going to look like. I'm very grateful for, honestly, God has brought some potential staff to our doorstep through relationships over the last few years, that we have staff that both have experience and that are right out of college, that are eager and ready to join our staff. And I'm very grateful for that. But you can understand I'm also reluctant to over promise, and under deliver. And so I'm just praying, and I hope you would pray with me about next year's plan for our school that God would bring the right families to our school community, that He would bring the right staff here that are going to be our most valuable resource as a school. It's not the curriculum, it's not the facility, it's not the administrator, it is the teacher in the classroom. That is the most valuable resource we have, because that is something, it's not even technology, it's the teacher. And so we are trying to invest in the right personnel for your students even next year. We're very grateful. We have multiple options that people are actually reaching out to me about joining our staff, which is bizarre because I've always had to go recruit. Nobody seeks out a small school in Nebraska, but I believe that's all God, and I believe God is ready to bless our families and our community next year through this theme. But pray with us as we kind of finish this school year and we finish the fine arts and the academic testing and the school play and all the stuff, track meet, all this stuff goes into it. But that we also, as we finish the daily classes, the things that matter each and every day, and that God would provide in a wonderful way. So your kids, I look across the names here, I'm honestly humbled by all of these, because I mean, the parents' names are humbling. But I think about all your different students that are just so unique, and really we are just blessed to have part of our school. And so I hope you feel the same. I do encourage you, if you have not yet done it, there is an open house post on the FBS parents page, to share that, and even give a brief testimony about why you choose to send your child to FBS, and then consider re-enrollment here just in a week or two, as it opens up what God has for you, for your family in the future. So we're looking forward to a great year next year. It's going to be a little bit of a year of transition, somewhat the same, but some transition. But I think it's building towards something that will really be helpful for our community. So are there any questions? I have not looked in the chat recently, so I didn't see any notifications. No, there's no questions in the chat. Okay, any questions that you guys have out there that you want to throw out? Any comments? I'm all ears. Somebody might be talking, their microphone is off, and that's just the classic Zoom problems. But okay, no questions. Wow, that's really surprising.
I'll just say thank you. I appreciate the time and the decisions you're making. I'm excited for next year too. So good job.
Oh, thanks, Brian. Appreciate that. Very good. All right. Very good. I think that's it. I will stop the meeting. If you have any questions, obviously reach out to me. And we are very excited about what God's going to do the rest of this school year and going forward in the future. So have a wonderful day. Stay safe, stay warm. Again, you can be the one that tells your kids, you could be the good news givers for once about no school tomorrow. How many of you think we should have school tomorrow? Are there any out there that think we should? Renee, I see Renee's hand up. I don't see very many faces though. Holly thinks we should have school. Okay. There's a lot of videos off. There's a lot of thumbs up out there. See, I agree as far as like, why cancel school? Everyone's warm, but I'm trying to be reasonable as well, trying to make everybody happy. So, which is a tough thing to do because everyone.
I respect the decision. I'm ready for my kid to be out of the house. I'm just tired of him being in the house and laying around and the laziness. Get to school, go to school.
Get to school. Yeah, that's what you're paying tuition for, I think. And so I gotta be, that's you're paying for them to be here. But I don't think, as much as I agree, we might be having no school tomorrow. So I think actually we are not having school tomorrow, but I'll send out the post. But Casey would like to be there. Oh yeah, quiz team practice. Stephanie Matson says, take my kids. I think it'd be fine. Oh man, everyone's got opinions now. See, that's what happens when you open that can. But it's all good. I appreciate everyone's opinions, and I always respect parents' decisions to do what they feel is best on these cold days, snow days. Except when we don't have school, I do not respect your decision to send your kids anyways. So we are not here, so don't do that. But All right. Have a wonderful day. Thank you all.